Welcome in everybody, XWeaverX. I'm going to be going over the January 3rd update here for Call of Duty. Now we're going to be focusing on zombies specifically here. Now the Squid Game 2 event is what the new event is here that just launched. You can go check that out. It's live in game right now. We have 20 more days for this. And you get a really cool Maya skin here, player 115. I love that they have 115 on her shirt. I think that's super awesome. It's a nice throwback to zombies in general. Super cool that they have that. Go ahead and hop in and get yourself that Maya skin while you can. They also have the premium pass here with this update, and you can go ahead and earn yourself the frontman operator skin. That's going to cost you 1100 Call of Duty points if you do want this premium pass. This is everything in it. Now, going back here to the patch notes, so that's what we're really mainly focused on here. Let me go ahead and pull that back up. So globally, they increase all mantle speeds and doors can now be opened and closed while sprinting. Weapons here, they added the new cleaver melee weapon. Address issues where players' view could become obstructed with specific weapons when using a Dark Practitioner and Tracer Pack bundle without an optic. Address issue where gun screens will not be visible on Sagmika, Drake, Mastercraft Blueprint. And the Hawker Hybrid optic now correctly works with the Ginger Dread Blueprint. If any of that is useful for you guys, that's that. The UI, they improved the action after report flow, added a dismiss button to exit at any point and a timer, added a summary at the end, improved readability when searching for match, addressed an issue where gun screens could not be previewed. And then multiplayer, they have the red light, green light. This is all of the Squid Game 2 stuff they added. We're not going to be going over that. We're here for zombies. So coming down here to zombies, Citadel Days Morse. The elemental sword wonder weapons have now been officially buffed, with also nerfs to 2 of them. Now, going over this, all the swords can now hit up to 2 enemies per swing, which is huge. That is something we have been wanting with these elemental swords since they have dropped. And then the additional hit will do damage based on the distance. So that additional hit on the second zombie here is based on the distance of which you hit him from. So additional hit damage is 100% closer, is 100% more at close to medium distance and 50% beyond that. So that additional zombie being hit, the second zombie that is, you're going to do 100% damage if it's at a close to medium distance and 50% beyond that. Players can now also parry amalgam grabs with the elemental swords. If you did not know, that is an ability on the sword where you can parry. You can now use that to parry the amalgam grabs. Address an issue where sword damage could be decreased when using the Void Sheath Augment for Ether Shroud. Now, this is something that's been going on since the swords come out. I noticed this myself when I was running the Void Sheath Augment here. Super nice that they finally fixed this and addressed it. I'm going to have to get in game and actually test it out. I have not tested it out myself yet. Now, the Ball Monk Sword. Ability procs more frequently while charged. They reduced the required kills from 40, which is insane that it was 40 kills to get the charge for the sword, down to 25. I still think they need to add some type of identifier to let you know that the sword is fully charged, because when I'm playing, I'm constantly trying to pop it and it says sword not ready. There's really no identifier besides looking at the sword and seeing it glow. But it, like, all the swords already have a glow to them, so you just kind of have to really be like fine-tuned in to when that glow is at the full charge. I still think they need to add some type of identifier. Treyarch, if you're watching this, please add an identifier for us. We would love that. And then going down further here, for the Ball Monk, they decrease the cooldown from 20 to 10 seconds. Now, if I'm reading this correctly, I believe this is saying that after 25 kills, you can pop the special ability of the sword. And then if you get another 25 kills, you have to wait an additional 10 seconds before you can pop that special ability of the sword. Decreased from 20 seconds originally. Now they also slightly lowered the chance to activate the passive effects to account for the decreased cooldown. So this is actually a slight nerf here, where the passive abilities are going to have decreased cooldowns between the activations, and that's to account for the account for the decreased cooldown between activations on the special ability. Now coming down to the Durandal Blade, they increase the special attack damage, increase electric beam special attack damage per tick, from 40% to 65% of the base zombie health. Now that is a huge buff for the electric sword here. We love to see it. The ability now procs more frequently while charged. Also really nice. And this is massive here. Decrease the cooldown to activate the specialist from 25 to 3 seconds. That is huge for this sword. I think I'm going to see myself using this sword way more frequently while playing Citadel Days Morse just because of this right here. That is a huge buff. And then they slightly lowered the chance to activate the passive effect to account for the decreased cooldown between activations. Now that's that slight nerf that we've seen on the Durndale or on the Balmung blade as well. Address an issue where Durndale's charge attack would not be visible to other players. Now I've never ran into this myself. Apparently that was an issue. It's now been fixed here. The Caliburn is the weakest out of all the buffs here to the sword. They adjusted to activate Napalm Burst Augments when the sword procs, similar to Balmung and Durndale. Now that's the only change they made to the Caliburn blade. I hate to see that. It seems like from what I'm reading here, I could be reading this wrong, but from these notes here, it doesn't seem to address the number of kills you need to go ahead and get the specialist to pop. I could be wrong. They might be saying similar to Balmung and Durndale, as like the patch notes are similar to that, and they were just lazy. They didn't want to type it out. I don't know. But that's what it says for Caliburn. Soulless Blade received a huge nerf. It is no longer super OP. They slightly reduced the effectiveness of armor regen ability and slightly increased the swing interrupt time for sword swing. So now you're no longer able to swing this sword as fast as you were. You now have a slight interrupt time between each sword swing. And then they also lowered the armor regen percentage from 5% to 4% per swing. So Soulless honestly just received a huge nerf, all in all. No buffs for the Soulless. Hate to see that. Hopefully they will change that going forward in the future. Now the main quest here for Citadel. They address an issue where players could sometimes be unable to pick up Lightning Rod depending on where it was dropped. They also fixed the Lightning Rod zombie that spawns in the dungeon. He now returns to the dungeon if there's no player nearby. And the dungeon, if you didn't know, is the quick revive area, so that's a change they just made. Address an issue where activating the timeout Gobblegum to progress around during main quest boss fight would respawn eliminated players in the starting area and down them instantly. So that has now been addressed. Love to see it. Players will now respawn in the boss fight arena. Address an issue where special round effects will not disable when entering the main quest boss fight. That's really good that they fixed this as well. Adjusted Deadshot ADS placement to be more accurate against the main quest boss. So from my understanding on this actually fixes the hit reg with the Deadshot ADS. So now when you're spamming ADS while having the Deadshot daiquiri, it'll actually aim at the boss's weak spot like it's supposed to. Before going into there with the Deadshot daiquiri, it was not registering the correct hit spots for the boss. So now that has been fixed. Address an issue where Craft could speak to the player before interacting with him in the dungeon. I never ran into this. Apparently that was a thing. So that's basically a nerf in my opinion, because for speedrunners, that was something you could go ahead and do, but now you can no longer do. I actually never sped run the map yet, so I was not aware of this, but for anyone that speed runs, just know that that has been fixed. Address an issue where saving and quitting in a solo match before speaking to Craft would prevent main quest progression after loading the save, so that has now been fixed as well. Address an issue where the light ritual mirrors cannot be interacted with after a player joins in progression. Now that would actually break the game if you had a player join you mid-game while doing the light ritual mirrors, so that has been fixed thankfully. Address an issue where Wisp and the light challenge for the Mystic Orb would freeze visually but still count towards progression. I actually never ran into that. Address an issue where the Mystic Orb would not be visible to players joining in the progress after the night ceremony. Now I never ran into that as well. I'm actually typically playing solo or with my brother Blake or my homie Ronnie, so like we haven't ran into that, but that was an issue for the people playing public matches. Address an issue where main quest progress was not saved when picking up the Mystic Orb after the night ceremony and saving and quitting in a solo match. Address an issue where the Durndale sword could be floating upon loading into a saved solo match. So pretty much all the solo players, this is a huge fix all in all, like anyone that's playing solo here on Citadel, they now addressed a whole bunch of issues that were affecting solo players when they were saving and quitting. Pretty much all of those issues have been fixed with this patch. Address an issue where melee weapons would not be able to open up one of the locks on the Pack-a-Punch container. Now, the Pack-a-Punch container on Citadel, there's 3 locks. Certain melee weapons were not actually able to be used to break those locks open. They are now able to be used. They closed an exploit where players would take no damage, be unable to move when failing the Sanctuary Time Challenge. Now, this challenge here is with the Soulless Sword. When you went in to do the Soulless Sword, there was an exploit that you could use, and then you would use the cannon. And then when you shot out of the cannon, you would be invulnerable. You would basically be in a God mode. But the God mode was really weak. This was like the weakest God mode we have found throughout the game so far. It was pretty useless because you would be stuck stationary. You could not move from that spot. So you could not get ammo or anything else. It wasn't really useful. They did fix it though. So I'm not too upset because that God mode honestly sucked. Wasn't too good. Address instances where a specific set of interactions could be lead blank objective text. I never ran into that, but that's been fixed. Address an issue where the blood Ethereum crystal could get stuck in non-playable areas. I had this happen one time where I killed the Doppelgeist, and he dropped the blood Ethereum crystal, and there was a clip in the wall to where I could not get it. This says that they have fixed that, so that's really good moving forward. Address issues with visual effects spawning in non-intended locations, and they updated the model for the Mystic Orb. Now, coming down to Terminus, this is a huge L on what they did with Terminus. Address issue where players respond by progressing around during the main quest boss fight with timeout. Gobblegum would be unable to see the boss's health bar. Address an issue with a workshop lockdown. Main quest step would end early by placing a shock charge after starting. This is a huge L. I don't know why they would go back and do this. This is super dumb that they did this. For those that are unaware, you took a shock charge in while doing the main quest on Terminus here. You go onto the Titanic underneath, you go in there, that's where you get the 2 canisters. If you threw a shock charge down at the floor at the start of that step, you could actually break out and skip the whole lockdown. Now they have actually patched this. I don't know why they would do that. It's so dumb that they patched this. Treyarch, please go back and reverse this. Nobody wanted this. Nobody asked for this. And frankly, it was honestly kind of a skill thing. Like, if you knew about it, you could go in with the shock charge, throw it down, skip the whole step. It wasn't mandatory. You did not have to do it. But for players that were like wanting to speed run like myself, or doing round 1 challenges or no kill challenges, this was essential. They've effectively broken those challenges. This has been a thing we've been seeing throughout the life cycle of Black Ops 6, where they go back and they're patching certain things that speedrunners like myself were able to do, and now you're no longer able to do it. So effectively killing all the speedrun strats and times. This is a huge L. I am not a fan of this. Please go back and fix this. This is ridiculous. Nobody asked for this. Go back and fix it, please. And then they also fixed the speed boost while using the boat race side quest. So there's a side Easter egg where you turn into the little RC boat. You do a race around Terminus. They fixed the speed boost option. Apparently, the speed boost was not functioning correctly during this whole time that Terminus has been out for the life cycle of the game. It's crazy that that is just now getting addressed. So that has been fixed. But honestly, I would rather not even have that and give us back the shock charge skip. I am so disappointed that they patched the shock charge skip. I'm going to keep saying it. Huge L. I don't know why they would do that. Super, super dumb. Coming down here to modes, they added the dead light, green light mode. Now, basically, when you go into the game, I just played this with my brother Blake. It's literally the Squid Game 2. It's the big girl that's standing there during the Squid Game episode for red light, green light. Now, green light, you get double essence and you can move freely about. You get double essence the whole time it's green light. And then when she calls red light, you cannot move. If you move, your essence will be drained every step that you're taking. And then they also have the dead light, and the dead light spawns in a whole bunch of purple-eyed zombies that are super aggressive. You can move freely without being penalized. That's that. And basically the objective is to go all the way until you get to the exfil round, and then you exfil out. It's honestly a pretty cool mode. I played it again with my brother Blake just before recording this video. It's a pretty fun mode. I think it'll be a lot more fun if you have a whole squad because the chaos would just be that much more intense. But yeah, it's a nice little mode. Something cool that they added for zombie players. It's only available on Citadel Des Morse right now. And then after week 1, so a week out from this video, they're going to be adding support on Liberty Falls. I'm not sure why they're not adding support on Terminus. It's kind of weird that they're leaving Terminus out, but that's what it says here in the notes. Now, also, they released Directed Mode here in Citadel Des Morse. This is actually a huge W here for the players that did not complete the main quest for the early completion rewards. They extended the time out until the rest of the end of Season 1 to allow those players additional time to complete main quests. Now, I'm assuming they're doing this more so for players that are new to the game, like the noobs that just got it for Christmas. I think that's what they're doing here. Honestly, it is a dub, though, for players that weren't able to complete it yet. They have extended the timeout now until the end of Season 1. So huge W on that part, on that front. And then this is actually an L from my understanding here for Directed Mode. This has been a theme here going throughout the notes. L's and W's, right? Now in the Directed Mode, for players that were using Directed Mode for Nebula, I believe this is a huge L here because what they're doing is they're extending the time between rounds and the delay between spawning zombies after 5 looped rounds have happened. Now, there's all the strats you guys know about, especially on Terminus and Liberty Falls, where you would run in and, like, for example, Terminus, you go into the room that you would use Dead Wire, where you go ahead and activate the terminal there to do the, what is it called? I'm trying to think what it's called. You put the 3 codes in that room. Essentially, there was a strat. You go in there, you keep flipping around in that room there. And that was a strat for Terminus. And then for Liberty Falls, the way I would do it, I'd go all the way until the round 12. That's how you do it on Terminus as well. You cap out at round 12, but then on Liberty Falls, cap out round 12, buy the bank door from the top of the roof, and then run in there and then jump on top of the bank teller, like right there where the bank teller is. You jump on that little table there, and then they would all line up in front of you for easy headshots. Essentially, though, they have patched Directed Mode when it comes to grinding out your Nebula grind, because now every 5 loop rounds, it's going to be an extended time here between the rounds and delay between zombies spawning in. So you're no longer going to be getting those faster spawns in Directed Mode. I don't know if it's stacking every 5 loop rounds. I'll have to get in and do some testing myself. But just initially reading that is what it's saying here. Now, Training Course address an issue that will prevent the getting new weapon station from progressing. I've never played Training Course, so I'm not too familiar with that. Weapons here address an issue where players will lose the ability to equip the second weapon if the weapon cycle setting was enabled. GOBBLEGUMS address an issue that left a player vulnerable briefly while teleporting from anywhere but here or nowhere but here or nowhere but there. GOBBLEGUMS. So essentially, when you pop the anywhere but here or nowhere but there GOBBLEGUMS, you could be vulnerable to getting damaged and getting down, even though those are supposed to prevent you from those situations. They officially have fixed that, thankfully, so that's a really good change there. Shadow mod. For the Shadow Rift big game mod, the big game will no longer deal lethal damage to elite enemies, so we're no longer going to be able to be like one-shotting the elite enemies with the big game Shadow Rift mod there, so that's a nerf. And then Void Sheath Augment, address an issue where melee weapon damage will not be increased. So this was a problem with the Void Sheath Augment since the life cycle of this. They have now officially fixed it, thankfully. Mutant Injection and address an issue where Mangler Cannon effects could be stuck on the screen after the score streak has ended. So that was just a visual bug. They have now fixed that. They patched the Chopper Gunner exploit that allowed us to use the Chopper Gunner itself as a gun when the Chopper Gunner score streak ended. That was an easy strat to get to round 100. They have now officially patched that. You can no longer do that. Sentry turrets addressed an issue that prevented a sentry turret from being placed after using the ball among charged ability. Power-ups Fire Cell addressed an issue where rarely Fire Cell will leave an extra mystery box on the map. This was a really cool thing that could happen. Sucks that they fixed it, but it is what it is. Doppelgeist enemies address an issue where the needle blast from Doppelgeist affected by a brain rot could harm the player. So if your Doppelgeist was affected by brain rot and you killed him, the needles could actually harm you. That has now been fixed, so you'll no longer take damage from that. Vermin. Address an issue where vermin could sometimes hit twice with one attack. So the vermin were windmilling on the last update, and all the zombie players, all of us in the community, we noticed that. We were talking about it over on Reddit. We actually thought the base damage was just doing more damage, but actually we were getting hit twice without us seeing that. So it was a visual bug where we took damage twice, and it was essentially a windmill, but with the vermin doing it. So all the OG players know about this from the come up from like Black Ops 1, Black Ops 2, where we would get windmill constantly. This was going on with the vermin. That has now officially been addressed and fixed, thankfully, because that was really annoying to deal with, especially during the vermin round. So thankfully that has been patched. They fixed an issue in split screen where the host would be ignored by zombies sometimes. And then they fixed some camo challenges here with the GS45. And then some daily challenges for calling cards, yada yada. And that's everything that they addressed here in this new update here. So honestly, a huge update. I think getting the swords upgraded like they did was huge. I have to get in and try them out. I have not tried the swords out yet to really see if the difference on the buff, if it's really good or not. I got to get ready to run in and do that. But yeah, that's all the changes. Huge L on them nerfing the shock charge skip on the Terminus Easter egg. I don't know why they would do that. That's so dumb. Like, they already fixed... They've been going really weird about fixing things, right? Because on Liberty Falls, they patched the dupe step for the canister, but they did not patch it on Terminus. And now it's patched on Terminus, but it took them forever to go back and patch it. I don't know why they didn't patch it simultaneously, but they eventually did get around to doing that. And now they have patched the shock charge skip on Terminus, which is so dumb. Huge L. Treyarch, please go back and revert that change. Nobody asked for that. There we have it, guys. That's all the changes here for this season. Update here for Squid Game 2. If you found this video helpful, consider dropping a like and a sub. Check out my other videos. I got plenty of Black Ops 6 content that you can go ahead and watch to scratch that itch. And we'll catch you on the next video. You guys stay safe. Take care. As always, peace and prosper. Much love. We'll catch you on the next one. Bye.